This is a question I hear more than just about anything else right now. Should I renovate or should I relocate? If you're in Miami in 2025, you know the market is shifting. Inventory is finally starting to tick up, mortgage rates are hanging out a little over 6%, and the buyers, especially in the luxury space, are getting a little more picky. So if you own a home and it doesn't quite fit your lifestyle anymore, the decision isn't always obvious. So in this video, I'm going to break down for you what you need to consider before you start swinging that sledgehammer or calling your realtor. From cost, zoning laws, to lifestyle changes and appreciation potential, I'm going to help you get clear on which path makes the most sense for you, not just financially, but personally. Let's get into it. So when one of our clients calls us to discuss whether they should renovate or they should relocate, we really take that seriously. And I know personally what a challenging decision it is. Most of the time they love where they live, they love their home, they've got memories here, but they're also really struggling with either the home isn't big enough and needs to be expanded, or it is just time to go ahead and do a real cosmetic redo of the home. And these two factors really pull at each other, and they really take a lot of questioning and a lot of help. And I feel like it's our responsibility to really sit with them and make sure they understand the entire landscape of both decisions so that they are totally informed. So when we're talking with our clients about this big decision, one of the things we've noticed is that you don't have to be living in this home for 20, 30 years to start trying to make this decision. There are a lot of big life changes that happen to people all the time. So sometimes you may have just bought this home 2, 3 years ago and realized it's not big enough, or you want to change some of the cosmetics, or maybe you're just getting tired of this neighborhood and looking for a different change. These are some of the things that we talk about when we sit down and consult them with the pros and cons of making this enormous decision. So let's talk about what goes into the decision of the homeowner in this case. There are so many factors, but there's a few that really stand out. One is we need to understand what is the current market value of their home in its as-is condition. Another question they ask me is, well, if we do these improvements, then what will be the home worth? So they can weigh the financial cost and the financial potential gain if they go through the headache of doing a huge renovation. So that's just one component. Another part is if they're starting to think about leaning in the relocation direction, what does that look like? Now you may be giving up your homestead, which means your taxes may go up. You also may see increased insurance and other costs. So we have to really look at those costs and also make sure that we're bringing all of this to the table so they can make a really well-informed decision. So one of the things we're seeing in the marketplace here in Miami right now is a flight to renovated or new homes. And then one of the reasons that is that right now, if you're considering doing a renovation to your home, you really have to weigh a lot of factors. Costs are certainly going up on materials. The timeline is getting longer and longer for the contractors to finish. And also we have the issue of permitting. These are some of the factors that really make people consider, should I go through this entire process, or is it just better for me to rip the Band-Aid off and go look for another alternative somewhere else? So I think one of the things people don't think about when they really start to conceptualize renovating their current home is how long is it going to take. It just doesn't make sense that it should take so long. But here in Miami, with our permit process and how backed up the permit department is, there can be a significant delay just around the corner. So this is something that we help them navigate, making sure that they get really good advice from professionals like architects and contractors, and particularly from people who help navigate City Hall and all of the challenges that the permit process presents. Unfortunately, I have seen too many situations where people just couldn't break that emotional bond that they had with their home, and they started a renovation project that went sideways. And unfortunately for them, quite often, they just abandoned the project, left the house half empty, and decided to go ahead and make the move they probably should have made earlier. And I think this is something that weighs on everybody. It's a really big, big decision, and I think you really need the advice of someone that knows what they're talking about in your market, and that can also take the time to really understand you and what you value, and see if we can help you avoid this mistake. So I have some clients that love renovating, and they buy homes and renovate them over and over again, and this has become very, very lucrative for them. So it's not all doom and gloom when it comes to renovation. If you know what you're doing, you have a clear handle of your budget, and you have really good people helping you, the outcome can be spectacular. I have seen some homes that I couldn't believe what had happened to them, and the transformation that these people have made when they really got the right pieces together have been unbelievable. So there's really two kinds of renovations. There's a renovation where you're not going to expand your footprint, but you're just going to do a massive cosmetic renovation, bathroom floors, windows, doors, these kinds of things, and of course kitchens. But then there's the other kind of renovation where you realize your home is probably not big enough. And I think this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where you really need to understand both sides of the coin. And for me, this is where generally I see people decide to relocate to another home, another neighborhood, a bigger property, than to go through all of the trouble to go ahead and expand. Because once you start to add to the footprint, the permit process goes up by double and even triple. And I think here's where we really have to be careful navigating. What are some of the reasons that people would actually go ahead and relocate? A lot of it is looking for a lifestyle change, whether they're upsizing, downsizing, or maybe now they want more walkable, or maybe they're at the stage in their life where they're ready to do some traveling and they're looking for a little bit more of a less maintenance property. These are some of the reasons we see people choose to go ahead and look at the relocation route versus doing renovations to their current homes. So in general, if the client decides they really want to relocate, it's interesting because what they really want usually is to relocate within the same neighborhood that they're in. Most people find their home and their neighborhood and really become a part of the community. And it's rare that we see people move from one neighborhood to the other. It's really more of a lifestyle change, whether I'm either expanding my family or I'm just need more space, or really I'm ready to downsize and just get a different product. But most of the time I notice when people call me for relocation over renovation, they're still looking to stay in the same neighborhood. So I think a trend that we're seeing right now in this big question of renovate or relocate is we are seeing people stick with the renovation because of market conditions and other external financial factors. Right now, since homes have increased in value so much, the homeowner who is thinking about relocating is now got a lot of different expenses they have to look at. They may have a mortgage rate of 2 or 3%, and now they're looking at doubling it. They may have a tax base that's been established a long time ago with homestead and has not grown as fast. Now they're looking at doubling and tripling that. They also may be thinking, if I'm going to upsize, there goes my insurance. So these are all some of the costs, I think, that are pushing people more towards the renovation because they have a set value for the home that they bought probably before the pandemic at a very good price that they may not be able to duplicate somewhere else. One of the things I think people seek our counsel on is really lifestyle changes that may happen if they decide to change from where they're currently living. They kind of want to know from us, what is life going to be like over there in this new area, right? What's the walkability going to look like? Am I going to have more access to things? Drive time, commute time. These are all things that people talk about. And I think that's where a realtor can add a lot of value because we are already familiar with all of these different neighborhoods and know how they will impact you individually. So if you're on the fence right now between relocating and renovating, let's say you're just about to pull that trigger on the contractor, just make sure you take a minute and think of a couple things. Make sure you have your numbers dialed in and you really understand how long you're either going to be displaced from the home or you're going to be in the construction process. And at the same time, make sure you've maybe talked to a realtor about other neighborhoods you're considering and really understand what values that might bring to your life if you make a new change. These are just some of the things that we have to consider right before the moment of truth. Look, there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. I've worked with clients who renovated and then fell in love with their home all over again, and others who realized relocating gave them the fresh start they didn't even know they needed. The key is to be brutally honest about your needs, your budget, and your timeline, and where you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years. If your current home is in the right spot and has the bones to support a great renovation, it could be a smart play, especially if you're emotionally attached to the neighborhood. But if you're starting to outgrow it, or you've got your eyes on one of Miami's up-and-coming pockets with real appreciation potential, relocating might be your move. If you want help running the numbers or mapping out your options, reach out to us. We've helped hundreds of families weigh this exact decision. And if you're still unsure, like this video, subscribe to our channel. We're diving deep into neighborhoods, trends, and real-life case studies every week. We'll see you on the next one.